Hey everybody, and welcome back to Grunt Reviews. In my hand, I've got something I've been waiting on for a while. Guys, today we're going to start the review process on the Nighthawk Sandhawk. As always, like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. That helps us with YouTube, and let's get into it. We are going to jump right in and just talk about what is in the bag. So, one thing I will say, very nice case. Actually has the waterproof / water resistant type zippers on it as well. Very well built. It is a Savior case. So props to them for including a nice bag or including a nice bag with the firearm, I should say. We do get a sticker. They give you a sampling of gun butter, and there's actually a code on the card for a free pen oiler as well. Not a huge deal, but they're about $15, kind of nice. Also inside this, we're going to have, and we'll see it on the firearm, this is the stock iron sight plate, and then the Allen wrench and the takedown pin for that. We've got some paperwork, and as always they do include the build sheet, the quality control sheet, and the test fire target. Kind of nice to have with it. We'll close this up and we will get to the firearm itself. We'll roll this around. So nice kind of a, I'm going to say almost fleece-like material there. We do get 2 magazines. These are, they're marked G3, so they're the newer style staccato mags directly from Staccato. Both of these are 17 rounders, so the 126 millimeter. And then getting into it, make sure we're still clear. We have the firearm itself. Pull a mag out here, and I'm going to get this out of our way. So this is one that I have been waiting on for a while. When these got announced, it's not terribly different from the Firehawk. Functionally, it's the same firearm, but the Desert Sand Tactical Peanut Butter look kind of intrigued me, very Scar-esque, if you will. Downside to these is they are on roughly a 2-year wait list, as they've had some popularity in ordering, and Nighthawk is a small one gunsmith shop, so production does take a little bit. With that being said, shout out to High Roller Guns out of Las Vegas for having one of these on the shelf and ready to go. Great folks over there. So let's get into this. This particular one is equipped with the iOS system, as you can see. And what that is, if you're not familiar, they have a few videos up on the website. It's essentially one pin that gets driven out. The optics plate slides off. You can put the iron sight plate back on. There's a few other options, if you will, optic-wise, RMR, SRO. I believe they're doing the Vortex and a few others. And the beauty of that is the way this system locks in, it's on a wedge. You are able to return to 0 with each optic that you should want to switch to, whether that be irons or a different micro red dot. That being said, this particular one, and it may just be this plate, the iron sight came off with relative ease. The acro plate, a little bit difficult to put back on. Took a little bit of coaxing with a nylon hammer, both getting it all the way up on the wedge to lock it in and tapping the pin in. I believe that may be just a little bit of extra Cerakote that needed to get cleaned up, or even some of the coating on the plate itself. After a few on and offs, it did start to loosen up a little bit, and it's functioning as intended. But for a firearm in that $6,000 range, would have been nice to see a little bit of that cleanup done at the factory. But once again, not a huge deal. Big thing with the iOS system here is you'll actually notice this has standard sight heights on, or standard height sights. Man, I can't freaking talk today. So we do not have to run a suppressor height sight to get a co-witness on this firearm. Front sight on this is actually, and hopefully that comes through in the camera, is actually a piece of gold. Little bit ostentatious, but kind of cool at the same time. And it actually is pretty easy for the eye to pick up. Of course, fixed irons forward mounted on that plate, and then I do have a Acro P2 mounted to it. Very, very interesting choice to pick essentially a chunk of gold for the front sight. I would have kind of preferred a fiber there, but it goes with the motif of the firearm, so we'll kind of roll with it. But the very cool thing about this is with these standard height sights, you are still able to co-witness because of how deep this iOS system is cut. Now, one thing, and kind of going back to the little cleanup stuff, is you can see here that we have a decent size gap between the optic that's mounted down and the plate itself. It seems like the shelf for this is a little bit too tall. I have some feeler gauges, and I want to make sure I get this right. So this is a 16 thousandths gauge, 16 thou, and we're right there, maybe 15, give or take. So I probably got a little bit of room there. We could probably go up to 17. So we are, give or take, just to round up, almost 0.5 millimeter out of spec or out of tolerance. Not a huge deal, and I will try to grab a photo of this sight picture, and I will put it up here briefly for you. It's kind of a lower 1/10 sight picture. That 0.5 millimeter movement with the correct plate may move it down just a little bit. Still very usable. Keeps the front sight out of your way, so you can use the dot very effectively. But would have been nice to see a little bit better quality control there. As we work our way down, slide is essentially a 5-inch full dust cover handgun, and then cut back for the compensator there. And this is the same, essentially the same comp, the TRS comp system that is used on the Firehawk and a few other firearms that they produce. It's one large single ported comp, and then the front sight is mounted on that, kind of making this a combination comp island barrel. All in all, coating, beautiful on it. Some very nice Cerakote work done. Machine work looks fantastic on this as well too. No sharp edges or tooling marks or anything like that. And it does run very smoothly, as you should expect in a firearm in the, once again, $6,000 price range there. Moving down, this does have, or at least I ordered it this way or picked it up this way, does have ambi safeties. That is an option, as is the iOS system. Those start to add to the cost of it. I cannot talk today. Slide, steel, frame, steel, and then this is a billet aluminum grip. Nighthawk says it's milled from one single piece. Kind of makes me wonder if they're making it. Reminds me of either like a Chile or a Phoenix grip. But it is a gorgeous grip and does have these nice round cutouts. And the kind of cool thing about these are the harder that you grip them, the more grippier they get. And I know that sounds a bit odd without feeling it, but this is something, if you wanted to appendix a full-size pistol, this is something that rubbing up against you all day really would not, wouldn't bother you, wouldn't pull, wouldn't pick. But when you actually get in and grip down, those little circle cutouts grab the skin very well and allow you to get a good, solid purchase on the firearm itself. More traditionally, this does have the beaver tail safety, grip safety, whatever your preferred term for it is there. I'm a little bit torn. I understand it's more traditional, but I prefer a pinned safety. It would have been nice if that had been an option to either remove or pin it. Just not a huge fan of grip safeties myself. Getting to the bottom of the frame here, we do have a single slot there for mounting the light or laser or accessory of your choice. Obviously, steel frame machining is beautiful. I put a couple flashlights on this already when it came in. Fit, finish, feel is fantastic. Would have been nice to see a couple of extra slots on here just for varying accessories. But if you're just looking to put a light on it, very easy, very simple. Trigger itself, it's a flat face trigger, does have just a little bit of texture to it there. Give you a little bit of tactile feel on your finger. Standard 2011 style squared off trigger guard. No checkering or anything quite special there. And then I'll work to the grip before we hit the trigger. Does come with a partially flared, I'm going to call it a magwell. The grip itself is flared, but there are magwell options that can be added to it. For the price, would have liked to seen a magwell be standard and ideally in black, because I think that'd be a nice little two-tone there. However, the factory one, if you're carrying this kind of in a duty condition, does give you a nice deep hole, even if you're slightly off angle, to help guide that magazine in. Let's lock this sucker back here. So one last thing, did want to mention on this too. So this is not, as you can see here, a one-piece guide rod. Or I should say a full-length guide rod. It actually runs up in it. I'm going to do a separate video on the takedown, but essentially to field strip this, there is a special tool that comes with it. Kind of reminds me of a paper clip. Slides in to capture the spring there and allows you to take this down. They've got a video on their website. One of really my, I guess, annoyance with it, if you will. Nighthawk's been making firearms for a long time, and I'm just some random dude on the internet, so I don't think they'll listen to me. But it would have been nice to see something like Atlas or Staccato has, with just a toolless pinch takedown and a full-length guide rod that runs all the way through the comp. I'm sure they had their reasons. It's just my opinion, but it's something that I do enjoy from some other manufacturers that could be improved. Trigger, this thing is set up a little bit more like a duty trigger. Of course, we're going to weigh it here in a second, but it is somewhere in the vicinity of 3.5 to 4 pounds. Has just a little bit of take up there. Nice firm wall, as you'd expect with any 1911 or 2011. Good clean break. Reset it. Nice short reset back on that wall. There we go. And one more time. Always hard to do that left-handed holding it just right. There we go. All right, and wall, break. So great feeling trigger. It's everything you would expect from a high-end firearm. I just wish they would have gone a little bit lighter with it. Let me grab my digital trigger gauge here. by Lyman. And we are going to grab a couple of measurements here. Get this reset. All right, first break, 3 pounds, 11.5 ounces. Hopefully everyone can see that. All right. Second break. Three pounds, 11.6 ounces. Very consistent. And last one. 3 pounds, 10.4 ounces. So very consistent feel. It's in that upper 3 pound range there. All in all, not terrible. Maybe it would be nicer if it was a little closer to 3. That's just my personal preference, and your mileage may vary. Almost forgot to put this in here. Wanted to grab a weight both with and without the magazine. This obviously is going to be run with a red dot, so we are going to leave it on there. We are at 2 pounds and 9.3 ounces, and with an empty mag, we are at 2 pounds, 12.5 ounces. I always grab a weight and didn't want to forget. Get that out of the way. Final thoughts. I do like, initially, I like it. It's a little bit of an understated look, forward checkering and rear checkering. Very simple in design, doesn't have a lot of fancy windows or anything like that. Definitely very functional, good fit, good finish, good feel. Outside of some of the issues with that optic plate kind of being out of spec, and that's something that can happen to everybody. Maybe it was a Monday, maybe it was a Friday. It really feels good in the hand. That grip texture is nice, and it holds very well to the skin without being overly aggressive. I believe they now have, or they are now offering, an extra aggressive grip texture that has kind of some little spikies there. But overall, it is a gorgeous piece of machinery. Outside of little knick-knacky stuff, would be nice if they included black mags instead of stainless, just to kind of go with the black and peanut butter motif. But all in all, feels very solid. I do like the fact that they give you 2 mags, and the iOS system, very cool, being able to co-witness with standard height sights. We're going to do some holster compatibility with this as well too, coming up in the future. And of course, we are going to get this out to the range and see how she performs. I'm very excited for that side of it. And this will wrap up our overview, or our tabletop overview. Guys, as always, I do appreciate your time watching this. Stay safe, train hard.